Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll adjust, right? That's what it means to live in a family, right? You can't just be self-absorbed and, my reality is reality. My perspective is always right. And you live in a family and suddenly you have to share, right? Or conflicts become an opportunity. Uh, something something is emerging that wants to grow and develop in you. Well, it's that way in every way. On the way up here today, I was praying for you and thinking about what I was going to share today. And I want to ask you first, we talked about last time, the first point was we need to move from a marriage where we're managing distance to focusing on connection. That only a connected relationship will work. So if we feel disconnected, nothing works. I don't care how much counseling you get, and how much you pray, and how much the Lord wants you, He leads you to reconnect. And once you reconnect, everything works. So how many of you have begun to see that? Okay, you see that? Okay, so now you sort of stop blaming your partner's behavior. What if you would just change this? Remember Katie and Frank? If you just quit playing so much golf and spend some time at home, when he did that, it didn't help, right? Because that wasn't the issue. The issue was Frank had a problem that he felt really controlled by Katie, so he pulled away emotionally. And when he did that, she didn't feel the connection, neither did he. They had problems. But when they reconnected, true story, everything really transformed. Okay? So I want to talk to you about, and by the way, you can scan that if you want to get a digital copy of the notes. When I work with young people, they never want paper. Never. But just give me the digital copy and I say, how do you write on that? We don't write on it. But there you can have that. That way you don't have to go to your YouTube channel for a handout. All right. Okay. All right. So transformation in your marriage. First of all, let me commend you for being here. Transformation in your marriage takes effort. You're here making an effort. Do you know how many couples are not here and that need to be here? A lot. Right. So you're to be commended to start. Sometimes there's an immediate breakthrough, and someone was just sharing with me about how it's been 3 years they've been listening to me, and now they've just now starting to get it, right? So there's yeah, amen, right? I won't say who that was. Okay. But then, sometimes it seems like you're making no progress at all, but it's important that you stay with it. All right? Because I don't want to share this yet. I'll share this in a moment. But so we know that marriages in the journey you're on, you begin with a romantic stage. And there was something we talk about in Imago relationship therapy. It's a scientific-based therapy, based on brain science. There's something in your brain chose your partner because your partner, among other things, has the positive and negative traits of your caretakers. So if my mom was controlling, and that really caused me to feel smothered and caused me to develop ways of reacting to where I pull away and disconnect, who do I marry? Not my mother, but someone who has the traits of my mother. My wife said, don't you ever compare me with your mother again. But she's just like her. When it comes to when she gets anxious, she feels, she's not a controlling person. She just goes into action. And when she does that, I feel controlled. I experience it as control, right? And so what do? I disconnect. I pull away. It's been a battle in our marriage for years, right? But in the romantic stage, you look at that person and you say, wow. And your brain says, she's the one. He's the one. And so so the brain releases all of the pleasure chemicals of dopamine, norepinephrine, and the right balance of serotonin and all the great wonderful, pleasurable neurochemicals, and you fall madly, wildly, and may I say blindly in love. Your brain is on drugs, man. You do not know what you're getting into. And so, no, seriously, because you're in a symbiotic relationship. And symbiosis, remember the phrase for when you're in a symbiotic relationship? It's not like plants. Plants, that's a good thing. But in human relationships, emotional symbiosis is a disease that destroys. Because symbiosis says you and I are one, and I'm the one. In a romantic love, that's so pleasurable because we're really looking forward to you're my soulmate. You've become the answer to all my problems. We stand up I remember growing up on that hill looking over San Jose and saying, I wish all of our friends could be as happy as we are. Right? And I sing a little song called Hey There, Delilah. And it said, it's full of that kind of thing. Our friends make fun of us, but they don't know. They've never experienced what we have, And so we think that we have that. But within from 2 to 18 months, we get it. We wake up at some point, the drugs have worn off. And we wake up to a partner who's different than what we thought. The young man said, he came into counseling with his wife and said, I can't believe it. She doesn't want to watch football with me. And he was traumatized. He said, we always watch football. Yeah, we were in love. We did everything with our friends, but I never really liked football. I didn't care about it. I didn't grow up with it. So here's a man think of how tragic that is. He's got to spend the rest of his life with someone who doesn't want to watch football. I smiled and I said, buddy, get ready. That's only the first of many differences. A conflict comes is a reaction to difference. It's subconscious, it's unconscious, but when our partner starts to appear as different, what happens? We react with that childhood defense, and then the problem begins. The disconnect happens. So what I want to encourage everyone is, no matter, even if you've been in this for a long time, if you're in this power struggle stage, keep going, keep working to reconnect, rekindle that marriage, and then re-envision your relationship. Because I did this on a Zoom call with a couple, and I realized that I had actually seen this somewhere before, but I realized that if you can get through this, look at what you have the rest of your life. And I know couples who, because of all the energy they were putting into conflict, once they reconnected and they kept working at it to make a stable connection, they had all this energy. They had all this time. And where can we put our efforts? And they had all this capacity to serve the Lord together. And a lot of times couples aren't serving the Lord because they're putting all their energy, because they're stuck right here in the power struggle. So I want to go back to that verse, though this is not in your notes, so you can take it. And it's a verse that when I was going through a really tough time, and some of you here today are in that place. Just in talking, I don't know if you're here this week, but just from last week, I could tell some of you are in a place where you don't have a lot of hope that things would ever change. Well, let me just share this with you. Israel was brought out of Egypt through the Red Sea at the wilderness of Shur. They found no water. What did they do? After seeing all the mighty works of God, they complained, right? They came to Marah, and the water was poisoned, so they complained. Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord shows him a tree. He puts the tree in the water, and the water's made sweet. And in that context, God said this was a test. He calls him to obedience, and he's with the promise of healing and health, and reveals himself as the Lord who heals you, Jehovah Rapha. And so when I was at one of my lowest times, I cried out to the Lord, and he said, take the tree and put it in the water. So I went back to my wife, and I told you one time when I was walking on my walk, and we have doves in our neighborhood, and I saw 2 doves sitting like this. And the Lord said, watch those doves. I just had an instinct to watch them. And then the one of them flew away, over to another dove, and this dove remaining looked both ways and then got up and flew over. And he says, if you want to seek me, I'm leading you to your wife. You have to go to her. So take the tree, put it in the remember we talked about that pristine glass of water, the space between you, put a little negativity in there. It's polluted. You can't connect. It's not safe. So I did that, and I came back, and the Lord did a miracle. It's one of many times that that's happened. And I realized it's not the skills that are doing this. You know what it is? It's the Lord. It's the presence of the Lord. So if you're in this place where you're stuck in that power struggle, keep going. Because number one, the Lord is doing more than you see. And number two, a breakthrough is ensured if you keep your eyes on the Lord. It will happen. So that's for you today who kind of lost hope. All right? Okay, so then look what's ahead. The partnership, my wife said, tell them today, she said, tell them, this has been her struggle. She said, tell husbands, every wife wants to be a Rachel, not a Leah. But most wives feel like Leahs. I've felt like Leah, she would say, most of my life. Why? Because my husband's always got a passion to do this and a passion to do that. It's not the other woman. But it's not the other woman, but it feels like it. She said, Chuck, if it was the other woman, then we could deal with that because that would be wrong. You'd just be eliminated from ministry, you know. But because it's your work, because it's your ministry, I can't complain about it. But I feel like it's the other woman. I had a counselor look at me in the face and say, she's not kidding. That's what it feels like. Okay, so she's always wanted to be a Rachel, and I'm working at that, still working at it. But let me tell you this. What happened, Rachel died early on. She was buried, I think, in another land. I can't remember where. But Leah continued. And evidently they had an amazing, a wonderful relationship. Look at this. Mature love stage is a partnership of healing and growth. Romance, the romantic stage ends because you were in love with a fantasy, a romantic fantasy, and a projection that wasn't real. But romance never has to end. Romance can be rekindled. And when it's done as a mature love, this person is not the person you thought, but you know what? It's really good because it's real. And that's what we want. And then you can go and serve the Lord together in a way that makes the world a better place, prepares his bride, and prepares the world, disciples the world so that the Lord can come to a successful and prosperous church. All right? You follow me? All right, so a kingdom reality, though, is when God gives a breakthrough, he's a good steward of what he gives us. Look at the parable of the talents. So breakthroughs in increase don't usually come until you and I, in our relationship, we've gained a little bit of capacity to steward them, right? So what would happen if God were to give a big breakthrough to someone and they weren't doing what they could do? This is like, I'm not going to work at it, but I'm asking God to miraculously heal my marriage. Well, God said, I could do that, but in 6 weeks, you'd be right back where you started, right? Okay, so partnership with God, you're to be commended for being here. And at the time you think God, you're not making progress, you actually are. I'm going to rush through this. Breakthroughs don't mean that we're finished just because I have a breakthrough. Breakthroughs in the Christian life and in marriage are to position you for the next level. You never stop growing. That's why I say, Sandy and I have the same issues. We're still working, still growing. I'm a little bit better than I was before. But one breakthrough gives us a chance to steward that and go to the next breakthrough. So, how important it is if you continue to show up. Just show up in your marriage. Just show up. I realized I can't stop the triggering. I can't stop the way my life triggers her life, but I can not leave her, and I can show up and just be there and watch God come through and do the heavy lifting himself. And he does that over and over again. So God is for you in this, right? Okay, so practice. Couples who advance spend time on the exercises that we're doing, and the tools that change the brain in ways that result in safety, connection, and then passion and full aliveness. That's where we're headed. So to be successful, you must create your own kind of daily practice. Here's a testimony. This couple says, we assumed that once we said yes, or we said I do, the work is over. The idea of having to spend time focused on our most important relationships seems strange and even depressing. When we first started focusing on our own healing process, our relationship was a mess. We both knew a lot about marriage in theory, but we didn't know how to live what we knew. And when we disagreed on something, neither of us would budge an inch. And to make our points, we would analyze and blame each other. If you had looked up stubborn mule in the dictionary, you would have found our pictures. Okay? So, the last thing we want to do is spend time together each night working on exercise. Remember I said, try that appreciation dialogue 15 minutes every night. That's what Sandy and I did, and it changed our brain. But boy, were we pleasantly surprised. Getting started wasn't nearly as hard as we thought it would be. Each night our relationship felt a little better than the night before. Then suddenly we experienced a huge shift. See, that's what we're going for. We're going for a breakthrough, a shift. For the first time in a long time, we found out we actually like being together. Building a new way of relating to each other is a lot like developing muscles. It takes intention and daily work, okay? So what's the answer? Is it Jesus Christ is going to come and give you a breakthrough? Yes. Are you going to have to work? Yes. Because you have to prepare to steward the breakthrough. Okay, so maintaining intimacy in marriage, we talked about these things. Connection is your goal. We identified the core scene. Mine was I'm the minimizer, I'm the turtle that I learned from, my mom I experienced this controlling. My wife, I experienced the same way. My wife is a hailstorm. She was the second child that didn't get attention because her siblings were born twins a year after she was born, and she didn't get a lot of attention. So she learned to make noise to get attention, right? So, and then commit to zero negativity. How many of you tried that zero negativity pledge? Okay, all right, good. All right, we're looking at those that did, not at those that didn't, but that was the biggest takeaway that you could have. It was we did a real quick coverage of it, but go back and look at that. And then finally, or the last two things, the daily affirmations, appreciations, caring behaviors. And then today we're talking about frustrations. All right, right to it, right, Graham? We got to get to it. So we talked about the three steps of the couples dialogue that we use. Each step involves mirroring is where you can listen without talking. Most of us can't listen because we're too busy recharging and getting our response, our reaction to what's being said. So we don't listen. We hear on average about 30% of what our partner's saying. So, but when they're arguing, they hear about 13%, right? But mirroring helps you stop and hear 100%. And it says you matter. What you're saying to your spouse is you matter. Everything that comes out of your mouth matters. And when you value what a person says, what comes out of their mouth, they translate that to you value me. And it feels good. So mirroring feels good. It's not easy, not an easy skill. The validation is the second part, and that's where you listen. You've listened to what's been said, and you can say, you make sense. And what makes sense is, and it makes sense, you may see it differently. And that's the important thing about validating. Validating is not agreeing. So we get that confused. I can validate you without agreeing. I can say, that 6 is a 6 on the floor. You're saying it's a 9. I'm not changing my opinion. I'm just looking and saying, oh, you make sense from your perspective. That makes sense. So you can validate. And see what happens. This is the process of differentiation. This is where we come out of symbiosis, where I can't see your reality. I can only see my reality. And until I can see your reality, I'm absolutely, totally self-absorbed. You and I are one, and I'm the one. Doggone it. So this is differentiation, where the two realities can be in the same room without being in conflict. Oh my goodness. Dissolves the power struggle, makes the space for two separate identities And reality is to connect. And then empathy is what we all long for. And once there's been differentiation to a point, we can empathize. We can look at the other person and say, into their world, walk into what they're feeling, and let them and say, I can imagine how you're feeling. No person can actually feel what another person's feeling, but I can imagine what you're feeling. And that's really helpful. It creates connection. So, and then when we talk about frustrations, frustration is just a wish. I'm frustrated because there's something I want, something I desire. And if I can learn to ask you for that rather than complain about you not giving it to me or you doing the wrong thing, or then I can actually express it and get what I want. So when sharing your frustration, these are some tips. You can find them in your notes. So use I language. Instead of talking about what you always do, what you never do, I say what I feel. If I do it with Sandy, I say, when the other day when we were getting ready to go, I felt like I wanted to pull away from you. I felt like I was being controlled. See, it's about me. It's not you always controlling. Why are you so controlling? It's not that way. So use those skills and ask for what you want rather than tell your partner what not to do or what they're doing wrong. So now when listening, so that's when you're talking. When listening, try to put your perspective in the corner. Remember, it is a dialogue, but one person's talking at a time. Because in counseling, it always happens. Well, wait. Can I clarify something? No. Just mirror. Just listen, right? Because you put your perspective in the corner, and then when it's your turn, bring it out and talk about it. So be curious and accepting. And always ask, is there more, with real curiosity to show that you care. And remember, your feelings will always follow your intentional actions. What do I mean by that? I've seen couples angry at each other. But once they start mirroring, choosing to mirror, choosing to say, is there more about that? There's a shift. And all of a sudden, they genuinely are interested and genuinely are curious. If you feel overloaded, you can use a gentle signal like raise your hand. Can I just mirror what you just said, what you've said so far? Don't put it over his mouth but just raise it gently, okay? And then here's a story for you. Laurel's frustration was, you left me at the party, and when I passed by you, you didn't even speak to me. You didn't even look at me. The married couple goes to a party. All of a sudden, he's gone. Woo! So Ben's reaction, what do you mean? It was a networking party. I was there for business, I mean, come on. I wanted you along, but I can't even do my job without you complaining like a baby. When are you going to grow up? I have to babysit you, right? Wow. So Ben and Laurel use the safe conversations dialogue. So Laurel, is this a good time to share my frustration about our time at the party last night? So Ben mirrors, validates, and empathizes. And it helped Ben regulate his reaction so he could listen first. And then it helped Laurel get in touch with deeper feelings, right? And they saw how Laurel's frustration was connected to her childhood. And her childhood challenge was neglect. She had been neglected. So when it's at that party, all of that core scene was coming up. And all of that pain was there. And Ben had no idea. She had no idea. Right? So then buried in the frustration was Laura's wish to be connected when they're in public. So Ben empathizes with that need. Suddenly he can see what he didn't see before. And there was a shift. Okay? And let me just tell you the end of that story. She made a request at the end. Because we did this thing where we said, okay, one thing that would help me next time is if you would check in with me every 30 minutes and look in my eyes and ask, how are you? And Ben said, I can do that. Why? Because he was empathetic. See? But if she had said that before he was empathetic, he would say, I don't need to, how come I have to babysit you and do all my business? And, Anyway, so here's the frustration dialogue. You've got it in your hands. Look at it with me. Ask for the appointment. You know the rule. How many of you have never done any of this before? You weren't here last week either? Okay, so you're all kind of good. How many have been here for 3 years or more? No. So ask for the appointment. And remember how powerful that is, right? Remember how powerful that is? Because it's a boundary. You don't just rush in and start talking. You just say, is this a good time? Your partner can say it's not a good time, but he or she will tell you when is a good time, and you'll do it. So make eye contact and take a few deep breaths, and then always start with an appreciation. And here's what you do. One thing I appreciate about you is, and then go through the mirroring. Let me see if I got you. You said, did I get it? Is there more about that? And then when you say, when I experience that, I feel, let me see if I got you. If I did, you said, did I get it? Is there more about that? And just make it brief. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so follow this exactly, all right? Then comes the appreciation of the frustration. It was frustrating when. So start thinking of frustration now that you're going to share. It was frustrating when. Let me see if I got you. You said it's frustrating. Did I get it? Is there more about that? Yes. When that happened, I felt. Then you go through the mirroring. What that reminds me of when I was little is, let me see if I got you. Did I get it? Is there more about that? Well, you can do what I'm really afraid of. That's a good one. Or what I need from you is. Okay? So I want you to do that. And then as you've been listening, you mirror. Then I want you to summarize. A summary is not a memory contest to get every detail. It's just what I got. Summarize what I heard you say is, and you just do your best to summarize it. Relax. Don't try to remember it. Just relax and let it come to you in the summary. And then validate it. And validation simply says, you know what, you make sense. And make sure it's genuine. I can see now how you were abandoned as a child. You felt abandoned, and when I left you at the party, yeah, it makes sense that it totally makes sense that you would feel that way. Is that a good validation? Yes. Well, I can imagine you feel. Are those the feelings? Are there more feelings? And then just go for it, okay? So let's have a quick demo, and we got to be out of here in 20 minutes. Should we demo, or should we just 25? Okay. Well, you got to conclude. We always would someone like to volunteer? Someone that saw this wonderful couple last week that did such a great job, and they said they would maybe come back if they. No. Let's see if anyone wants to volunteer. Okay. Okay, I didn't hear that. Say that again. People were laughing. I want to laugh. No. Check. All right. Good morning, everybody. Checking 1, 2. Check.
Check. Hello.
All right.
Check.
Kimber and Mike? Yep. Okay, so let's give them a hand again, all right? Okay. Who has a frustration?
I think I'll be the talker, the frustration this
Okay.
week.
Okay. All right. Like most of us, Kimber always has ulterior agenda, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so ask me the point. Say, so Mike, is this a good time to share frustration?
Mike, is this a good time to share a frustration with you?
Yes.
Okay, make eye contact. Always take a few deep breaths. When you breathe, your brain feels, it's going to be good. All right. Okay, so start with an appreciation. One thing I appreciate about you, Mike, is...
One thing I appreciate about you, Mike, is willing to listen to me when I have a frustration.
So let me see if I got you.
Let me see if I got you. One thing you appreciate about me is I'm opening to listening to your frustrations.
Yes, that's perfectly right.
Okay. Did I get it?
You got it right.
All right. Is there more about that?
Oh, yes, there is.
When I experience that, I feel.
When I experience that, when you hear me, it makes me feel heard and loved. When you're open to hearing me.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, one of the frustrations that you have is I don't always hear you.
No. I haven't shared my frustration yet.
That's right. That's right. One of the things you like about me when I hit the mark is that when I listen to you, I can understand it and perhaps repeat it back to you so that you know I'm taking the journey with you.
Correct.
Okay.
Did I get it?
Did I get it?
You got it.
All right.
Okay. All right. So thanks for sharing. Tell her.
Oh, hey, thanks for sharing, honey.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the frustration. When it was frustrating when or ever.
It's frustrating when I'm unable to get a hold of you or know where you've gone. So let's say even if you've left the house and you don't tell me where you've been, or I can't get a hold of you on your phone, it's really frustrating, and it leaves me feeling with an abandonment wound that happened because my parents were always leaving me when I was a kid, or weren't there, or would never come home, and they wouldn't call, and I wasn't able to get a hold of them. So it really helps me to feel loved when I know where you're at.
Thanks for sharing. If I'm hearing you correct, what you're saying is when I do things like just go across the street to the neighbors, or maybe I go for a mountain bike ride that's a little too long and you can't get a hold of me and I don't tell you what's going on, you get frustrated because there was a very similar situation when you were a young child and your parents would just take off and you didn't know where they were and you couldn't get a hold of them.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Okay. Is there more about that? Ask her.
Is there more about that?
What I need from you is.
What I need from you is just to leave a little note. Hey, babe, I've gone here. I don't need to, just so I know if I walk in the house and you're not there, maybe a note or a text that says, hey, I've gone here. This is the approximate time that I'm going to be back. And if you're not, just give me a call and let me know what's going on.
So what I'm hearing you say seems to be very similar to what was just shared with us is the 30-minute check-in. Something along the lines of text you, let you know where I'm going, perhaps leave a note. There's an opportunity to maybe put a little heart on the note or something wonderful.
That would be wonderful.
And then what's wrong with every 30 minutes to check in with the other part of me, who I am with you? And so is there anything else that I may have missed or need to understand?
I think you've hit it on the mark.
Okay. Okay. So now in this, if you're following, Kimber did she did the whole thing in one. Because a lot of times we're not in touch, but they're in touch. They're in touch with this and they can share it. But Kimber would have gone, it's frustrating and when that happened, I felt alone. And that reminds me of when I was abandoned as a child. And what I'm really afraid of is that I'm going to live this life alone, right? And then what I need from you is, and so she just kind of took us through it. And keep in mind, if you do that well, throw that thing away. Yes. You don't need the tool.
See, it's working. Everyone, it's working. Just keep coming back. It works.
All right. So the tool getting away, if you're already empathetic, if you're already connected, see. But so now validation, I want you to look at her and say, first of all, just briefly summarize what she said.
To summarize what you're saying is that when I don't let you know where I'm at or leave you a note, or why wouldn't I check in to see how you're doing? It reminds you of a childhood trauma, which was your parents taking off whenever they wanted to and leaving you home alone. And then it made you feel like, don't you love me? Boy, that's tough. I'm sorry, honey.
Is that a good summary?
Is that a good summary?
I've never seen you be so empathetic, so thank you.
Okay, let's jump right to empathy. This is a star couple here. You got here, Graham and Carla. So you make sense, and what makes sense is you make sense, and what makes sense.
That totally makes sense. Boy.
What makes sense is?
What makes sense is that, going back to what we talked about last week, I love everything about you. I love your beauty. I love the way you make things beauty. Why would I not want that always in my life? And I do. So that makes sense to me. But also, boy, we're one. And why would I ever want you to feel like that little girl that's abandoned? I didn't realize that it was that deep. So thank you for sharing that with me. And I will definitely remember that and make that a habit so that we can be closer and fall deeper in love. So thank you.
Thank you for hearing me.
Yeah.
Okay. So we didn't go validation, then empathy. I want you to follow the steps, okay, just to practice it. We don't have time to keep going, but excellent job. They went right to empathy, and let's give them a hand. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Okay, so what I want you to do is sit with your partner, eyeball to eyeball, knee to knee. Turn your chairs so you're facing each other. Knee to knee, eyeball to eyeball, right? And take the dialogue sheet on each of you take a copy, and then I want you to decide who goes first, and we're going to give you a few minutes to go one way, and then we're going to interrupt you, and we're going to ask you to go the second round the other way, okay? So go ahead, decide who goes first, and say, is this a good time to share frustration? And start.